What is life? What is it to live? Once we get past the biological answer, aspects of living and reproduction, the ability to metabolize, the ability to process and react and e- evolving and growing. Once we get past the whole life begins at conception, and once you get past the biblical part, what is life? What is it to live? What is it from a philosophical standpoint? Come on down this rabbit hole with me. We're going to explore this a little bit as we go into another show of Mental Mail. Hey, welcome to another episode of Mental Mail. As you saw from the beginning, I asked the question, what is life? We all ponder that question. We all come across that in our minds. What is it to live? What is it to have a life? We sometimes come across this question when tragedy happens. We lose someone close to us, and what is the meaning of life? And what is my existence here for? Or maybe you have a separation or a breakup that's really hard, a divorce. You start reevaluating your life. What is life? Is it the apprehension of things? Is life all about obtaining things, obtaining cars, clothes, whatever? Is life about the apprehension of the gain of things to you? Is that what life is? One writer says it like this, and I'm gonna paraphrase it. He says, climbing a mountain is not about the collection of things as you go along the way, but it's about the change and the willingness to change as you go along your journey. So is life about transformation? Should life be transformative? What are you willing to change as you excel through life? As you go higher and higher in knowledge, as you go higher and higher in opportunity, as you go higher and higher in just the capacity of where you at in life, how much of that are you willing to change? How much are you willing to mature and grow? Is that what life is, though? Is life about maturing and growing? The Eastern philosophers always thinks of life in terms of the community. Whereas in the Western side, they always think of life as I. It's all about me. And you can see that prevalent, especially here in the United States where we at. It's all about me. I gotta get mine, you gotta get yours. It's us four and no more. It's just about what I can get, what I can achieve, and let somebody else get on their own. I mean, you hear songs made up about it's all about what I can get, not about what you can get, not about how I can help you, but about getting up over on the next man. So you see that philosophy in the Western part over here in the United States. Let's say it from that standpoint. It's all about I. Life consists about me and nobody else. Confucius says it like this: a man who wishes to establish himself establish others. A man who wishes to enlarge himself enlarges others. So then he is able to judge by what is not within himself. This is the art of virtue. So says Confucius. Pieper says, prudence is the cornerstone of all virtues, and justice is the peak and its culmination. But why prudence? Why does he always say prudence is the cornerstone? It's what holds everything together. It's that stone that holds all the walls in place. That's what prudence is. Prudence, he says like this: prudence is the quality of clear-sightedness. Prudence, a prudent person approaches each decision with his eyes open in full light of knowledge. So prudence, so you think about that and go back to what Confucius says about able to judge, which is not within themselves. So without having prudence in yourself, you're not able to judge or judge wisely. Because then he goes on and says, people, that is, prudence is the art of deciding wisely. So you must have prudence to be able to decide wisely. So a person's virtue has to include prudence and has to have wisdom. Has to have prudence and has to have some form of justice in the balance. So a person who has virtue shows that they are putting their ability in practice. Moreover, virtue wills good in a person. And so that a person doesn't do good because he wants to, he does it because he wills to. But is that life? So is life about virtue? Plato says this: an unexamined life is not worth living. we are all born with all the knowledge that we have. We just have to be able to recall it. So then is life about recall? Is life about walking this life and recollecting everything that you have not remembered? And once you remember that last thing, then life is over? Is that what Plato's saying? Then you go to this thing about legacy. And I'm sure everybody in their mind have thought about, what kind of legacy am I living? What kind of legacy are you leaving? I mean, what kind of legacy are you leaving for those around you? What kind of legacy are you leaving to your children, to your family, on your job, where you work at? Every day you walk, you're leaving a legacy, a memory behind in which people will remember you for. When you go into your community, you're leaving a legacy, a memory behind which people will remember you about. So when you pass away, when you die and no longer exist, what are people saying about you and your legacy? Because everybody think about legacy as this big thing. Well, I'm gonna leave money and cars. I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave that. Or, I won a Nobel Peace Prize and I won. But every day you leave a legacy. Every day that you live, you are creating your legacy. And why am I talking about this? So I just came on went down this rabbit hole, I spilling out different things and philosophers and stuff like that. Why am I talking about this? Because I think that, and one thing I said about this show, I said when I started, it's gonna just be like sometimes a digital diary where I just kind of jotting it down, I kind of just blur it out my mouth. And had a few things happen that made me start thinking about, what is life? And and I want you to, if you listen to this, get into the comments and, hey, join into the conversation. This is not I'm not looking for an answer, but more I'm looking for a conversation to discuss what is life and legacy. Because legacy is such a thing that I hear a lot of people talk about, but no one realizes that every day they live, they leave a legacy. They are creating a legacy. What I mean to say is that I do this podcast and do other podcasts. Some of you see me on other podcasts. When I'm dead and gone, those podcasts are part of my legacy. Whether it grows to 1 million views or not, if only 500 people see it, that's part of my legacy. And so, if for our viewers or people who listen to this or people out in the world who have children, how you live around your children is the legacy you creating. They're looking at you, and when you gone, they're gonna start recalling, oh, my mother or my dad used to do this, my mom and dad used to say this all the time, blah 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 blah, and you are leaving a legacy behind. Yeah, it's good to leave monetary legacies because you want to help them move forward in life. So I'm not saying that. It's good to leave sometimes physical possessions because maybe your son or daughter or niece or nephew may not have a vehicle, and by you leaving that vehicle, you help them step up in life. That's great. But money gets spent, vehicles die out. But what lasts the longest that can be passed down from generation to generation is your legacy. I remember we used to have those family dinners, and we all sit around. I used to see the older people talking, and they talk about the older people before them. And I remember when so and so used to say this, and so and so used to do that, and that's being passed down. I never met who they was talking about, but I knew they saying. I knew their mannerisms. I knew of them because they passed that legacy down from generation to generation. So if you get nothing else out of this here, and I'm gonna get out of here in a minute, be careful, be aware of the legacy that you are leaving to your family first, your community second, and last to the world. Because legacy is important. Whether or not you mean to do it or not, it's something you're going to do automatically because you left breath in this body. Until next time, peace.